On this edition of Mike to Mike, I'm going to tell you about a guy that's been all over the place. Hey, that's me. No, it's not. Here we go. It's time for Mike to Mike, and we welcome Sam Feeley to the program.
How's it going, Snowman? How you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Vertical. That's all that matters in the end.
Yes, it is. How'd you get started in doing play-by-play, man?
So this January is going to be the 20th anniversary of the biggest mistake of one of my high school classmates' lives. When I was in high school, the local access station, one of my classmates was in charge of the sports broadcasts.
Mhm.
And I had helped him backstage on a few things. He knew I wanted to get into play-by-play, but he had all these slots taken. And then an hour and a half before puck drop of a hockey game that he was filming, he calls me at home and says, "Hey, Sam, we need a play-by-play guy for this hockey game. Can you come down here right quick?" And I said, well, I didn't drive at the time. I turned to my dad and said, "Hey, Dad, can you give me a ride down to the rink?" He said, "Yeah, sure." And then the rest is history, and the world has been paying for it ever since. One note I did learn that I pass on to future generations and other aspiring broadcasters. Even if you're a huge hockey fan and you know everything about the sport, do not make ice hockey your very first play-by-play assignment.
Did you learn quickly to keep your head on a swivel when it comes to hockey?
It actually took me a while, and by a while I mean almost a decade, to fully get up to hockey commentary speed, because I didn't do a whole lot of hockey in my first decade of broadcasting, but since then it's become the most common sport I call. Like last weekend I did junior hockey showcase for the USPHL and the NCDC. That was a dozen games in 3 days. I mean, doing those games in refrigerated, air-conditioned rink while it's 75 degrees outside, that'll really mess with your sinuses and everything. And I've been paying for it in the week since. So,
hey, been there, done that. I went on a road trip to Minnesota, and the fellow who hired me said, "We need you to call hockey." I haven't called hockey consistently. Well, you're going to this week. Like,
yeah.
Week? You told me only a couple of days. It's a full week. So where am I? Williams Arena, Minneapolis.
I mean, that's where you got to be for hockey of any level, from youth to the pros.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that being in New England, junior hockey, there's plenty of junior hockey teams. This is where the NEPSAC is, where you churn out a lot of baseball and hockey and basketball, college and pro talent annually. But high school and college sports aren't nearly as big a deal in New England as they are in other parts of the country. Mm-hmm. Because even if you go up to, the Quebec and New Brunswick borders, like the furthest reaches of Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine, the attention still largely gets siphoned off by the four major Boston pro teams.
Yep.
And that is not to say that nobody cares. It's just that if you're looking for industrial strength media coverage of top tier talent, it's not going to fill up the sports pages or the 11 o'clock sports highlights like it would in, say, Ohio and Pennsylvania and Texas and so on.
Yep. I'm in Indiana, and basketball is the main sport here.
Yeah, exactly.
I've lived in Indiana basically since 2013 when I moved to Michigan City. Man, when I tell you that if I did a basketball game and everybody wants my stats for it, any high school game, period, basketball, football, or baseball, yeah, they're looking for information. Because what I found out is that if you're not like fully dedicated to high school sports in Northwest Indiana, then they would not consider you a credible source. And for me, I've been covering high school sports here in Indiana since, like I said, 2013. I'll tell you about a game that my wife covered with me. I had her do stats for me for a game where a young fella named Lyric McFerrin went completely off. And she tried keeping the stats for me. I gave her a crash course. I'll never do it again because she was also my producer in the booth. Yeah, I said out loud that McFerrin carried the ball 19 times for 225 yards and 4 touchdowns. Both the local papers were there. Another station was there covering the game, and a few other people from the South Bend area were covering the game. My question is, why was everybody coming to me when I didn't write everything down?
I mean, I would take that as a compliment. I mean,
it is.
I mean, people looking like, oh, you've been here before. You know what you're doing.
Right. And that's exactly what they were saying to me. My wife was so surprised they kept coming to me. I missed my 1 yard. He actually had 226.
Oh,
I missed my 1 yard.
Stop selling him short. I mean, compliments come in a lot of different forms.
Yeah.
1 second. Yeah, still the residual from the hockey event weekend.
Dig it.
So like there's a lot of people who, when they meet me for the first time and they don't know that I'm a sports announcer, they hear my voice and they say, and I tell them what I do, and they say, oh yeah, I could tell by your voice. And to this day, I've never been able to figure out what that even means other than I'm loud. I mean, in fairness, having ADHD and an older sister will force you to, speak louder and faster just by nature. It's I guess, I don't know if it's like a compliment or not. The same way one time some stranger told me, like, keep in mind, I've grown up, I lived in Massachusetts almost my entire life, except for a couple of years going to school in Florida, a couple of years working in upstate New York. And someone once told me, this is so long ago, and some stranger told me that they liked my Boston accent. And I'm like, thanks for letting me know I need to get tested for strep. If you want me to talk in a Boston accent that can cut glass, I'll do it, kid. I love it.
I've had so many people. I'm originally from Chicago. I've had so many people tell me they recognize my Chicago accent, but I get the same compliment that you do, in that I've been told so many times, you definitely have a voice for sports and a voice for radio.
And a face for radio. For me, anyways. I won't
put
it on to you.
I said thanks for the compliment, and it's years of practice. Because the first couple of fellows that inspired me to get into play-by-play was Jim Durham, former voice of the Chicago Bulls, and a fellow up your way, Johnny Most, longtime voice of the Celtics. And you talked about the greatest mistake that was made in your favor. The greatest dare in my favor was the first game I ever called, 1995. And I asked my friend Kevin, who was checking out a camera so he can do a class project. I said, can you attach a microphone to that? And he said, yeah. What do you have in mind? Well, the Chicago State Cougars were playing Northern Illinois. And I said, I want to try an experiment. That experiment has blossomed into a 30-year career. That was my first call. I had rosters, and that was it.
In fairness, Jim Akimchuk, my classmate, who was the one who called me, he didn't call me. He didn't call me by mistake.
Right.
That's just my own like self-pity attitude about the whole situation.
Yes.
And you know, it's the kind of attitude you got to have, you know, to like weather the storm of like critics and not. But you know, people have noticed I'm my own harshest critic, and like, there's nothing necessarily wrong with that because I'm my own harshest critic. Because I have this mindset of like, I hate letting people down, even if it's because of things that are 100% not my fault, and they recognize it's 100% not my fault. It's still, I'm still coming up short in my duties as a professional, and I want to put together the best broadcast possible, especially if I have, you know, aspirations to move up to the next level. But only in the last couple of years have I started like working more Division I college games. Like if you get into this, you know, industry, like, you know, like the local level, high school level, as like a junior, senior in high school, working with your local access station or, you know, whatever, you know, do not delude yourself with the idea that you are absolutely going to be calling like the Super Bowl, the World Series, 10 or 20 or 30 years from now. I'm not saying you should never have that goal. I'm not saying lower your expectations. Just like be reasonable, but still give it your all. Like there's a reason that there is very little, you know, turnover in the announcing crews. You know, it's more or less the same, you know, 16 announcing crews every week of the NFL year over year with only slight changes each year. But that's not to dissuade anyone from, you know, trying new things, trying out, you know, calling sports that you might not have otherwise watched before. I know that I don't remember the last time I don't think I ever attended an organized volleyball or field hockey match before I called or reported on my first volleyball and field hockey games years ago. But, you know, and even then, sometimes I, you know, it doesn't matter what the sport is. I'm not just talking about field hockey here. Sometimes, you know, when we call sports, we don't usually call very often. Sometimes, you know, the lingo gets changed over somewhat incorrectly. Soccer players will sometimes, you know, give you the hairy eyeball if you say sideline rather than touchline. I personally haven't experienced that, but I have heard that. But it, you know, there's opportunities, and you don't have to just think about, you know, the game of the week or anything. There's a whole world of sports out there. There's a whole world of opportunities, and this stuff has actually opened me up to opportunities beyond sports coverage, and it's helped me develop like ancillary skills that have gotten me other assignments that, you know, have nothing to do with announcing, but like videography, writing, you know, social media stuff. It's, you know, it's a gateway to a lot of amazing opportunities if you're willing to keep an open mind.
It is. And what got me was right before my cancer surgery in 2022, I got a phone call from University of North Carolina, Greensboro. And we had just moved back here to Indiana. And they called and they said, "Can you do a game for us today? Ty is not going to be able to make it." And I said, "There's no way I can do the game. I'm in Indiana." And then a thought hit me. I looked at my studio setup. I was living with my in-laws at the time. I looked at my studio setup and I said, "Kobe, I got a question. Lay it on me. Can I do this thing remotely?" "You most certainly can. We send you a feed. We'll go from there." "You're on."
Yeah.
I said, "You're on. Let's test this." Went off without a hitch.
Yeah. Like a lot of broadcasters, myself included, have our qualms about remote broadcasts.
Yep.
But it is useful. It ensures that, if crap hits the fan, in person, and people know who you are, they can reach out and say, "Hey, listen, we need you to fill in real quick." And we're providing. What we do is essentially as close to PR as one can get in the world of journalism.
Yes.
But it's still an important service to provide. And it's especially important to athletes who might not play sports competitively again after high school, or athletes who aren't going to, go pro in their desired sport. The NCAA runs those PSAs for a reason.
Yes.
But what we do as broadcasters, as public address announcers, as reporters, this is still something. This still serves that we provide to these athletes, so they can still have that feeling and tell their kids and their grandkids 10 and 20, 30 years down the road, you should see what I did in this game and listen to the call and everything. And it'll sound, so great, even if in my mind it's like, I could have done better, but that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. All that matters is, what it does for the kids. And there are other ways that those feel good moments happen, in ways that, maybe we can't control, but also create feel good moments for us. A couple of years ago, I had the privilege to do PA for high school football at Fenway Park on Thanksgiving week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, I did in 2022 and 2023, Boston Public Schools hired me for the games that they had those respective years. It was a great, I had auditioned for the Red Sox PA job like over a decade prior. I obviously didn't get it, but whatever. Still got to do it. It's just one thing did kind of trip me up, though, that possibly prevented me from having the best performance I could have gotten.
Yeah.
So future tip for those of you who might work a football game in what is usually a baseball stadium. At Fenway, you're sitting in the same booth that the baseball PA announcer would during a baseball game. And the press box overlooks home plate, which is where the I'm trying to visualize the map of Boston, where the west end zone is. You're on top of the west end zone. Like you're not at midfield at all, and you gotta hope you have very good binoculars or a fast acting scoreboard operator or camera operator. I'm not at all knocking the personnel at those games or anything, but just doing that from like basically a 45 or 60 degree rotated angle from where you're used to being. It can be a little tricky, but it was fun stuff. And
craziest game I ever did was 2002, and it matched two top ranked high school football teams, not just in the city but in the state. Back in Chicago, it was St. Rita and Brother Rice in a Chicago Catholic League game. It was sunny when I got to the stadium. It poured by the end of the first quarter. And I was up on the roof and they had to put me on the, they knew I was coming, but they had to put me on the roof because everybody who covered high school sports was at that game, including a few of my best friends. And the booth was so small, they had to put some of us on the roof. By the time the fourth quarter hit, my shirt and tie were soaked. My shoes were soaked. The umbrella that I had brought to protect my equipment was up 79th Street long time ago. So I had to hide all my equipment in the case where I brought it. And the biggest kicker of all, the game went 6 overtimes.
Oh, good God.
6 overtimes. My voice was dead. My legs were dead.
Mm-hmm.
I climbed down out of the booth, soaked to the bone. The
Mm-hmm.
field, I couldn't see the yard markers on the field. It had rained so badly, and they had a grass field at the time. I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't see a thing. If I saw the helmet, I knew they were at midfield, and I somehow calculated from there. So when I climbed down, some of the parents heard me from both sides, and they said, "Man, you did a great job. I'm hungry, and I want to go home, and I want to dry off because I'm soaked." And I had my trench coat at the time, and it didn't bite it bit the dust that night because it was soaked to the bone.
Disintegrated, yeah.
It disintegrated. My trench coat disintegrated, and the next thing I knew, when I got home and I peeled off my trench coat,
Ugh.
there were a few beers in there waiting for me in celebration.
Mm-hmm.
I went downstairs, put them in the fridge. I put the food that I got from the post-game tailgate in the fridge.
Which is now just like the most watered down barbecue you've ever had, literally at this point.
It was done. I still ate it.
I mean, what else are you supposed to do at that point? You need some kind of calories.
I needed the calories after 6 overtimes.
Yeah.
And my dad looked at me and said, "What happened?" I said, "It rained at St. Rita and I got soaked." And he said, "What do you have in your pocket?" And I pulled out the beers, and he said, "Put them in the back of the refrigerator so your mother doesn't see them."
Oh boy.
Yes, sir. Because if mom saw those beers, I would get 200 questions and I wouldn't be able to answer any of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the wildest game I ever worked. I mean, I don't know why there is any debate over it, or why I'm debating about this at all. The wildest game I've personally worked. It was 2015, the Lexington Blue Sox team that I've been working for the longest.
Yeah.
Amateur baseball team outside of Boston.
Mm-hmm.
We won our 17th Intercity League championship this past summer, our first since 2021, and it was the 9th championship that I've been a part of.
Beautiful.
So this was game 3 of the championship series, best of 5. We won the first 2 games rather easily, and in game 3, we're up a pretty good amount with, I think, like 5 runs or something, with like 6 defensive outs to get. And we're playing against our longtime arch rivals, the Andre Chiefs. We had faced them at that point in the championship series 6 of the last 7 years, and that would extend to 7 of the last 8 the next year. We had alternated championships, winning the championships since 2012. They won 2012, we won 13, they won 14. And so, spoiler, we won this game, but here's the deal. 6 outs to get. Andre mounts a huge comeback. And there's a couple of controversial calls that go Andre's way that result in our manager, Rick DeAngelis, and our catcher, Jeff Vigers, getting tossed. And this goes on, like this ain't goes on for such a long time that the sprinklers automatically came on in the outfield. And like these were automatically set by the town of Melrose, Massachusetts. So like we had no control over it. We had someone try to reach Melrose DPW voicemail. Obviously, it's 10:30 at night. And then the PA announcer starts playing like, have you ever seen The Rain by CCR, Super Duper Fly by Missy Elliott, and all these other, Rain songs. And then the lights go out. And keep in mind, this is on a Thursday, all right?
Yes.
And there's a hurricane coming soon. So Friday's a wash. And then Saturday, our league generally doesn't play on Saturdays anyways, but
right.
we blocked off that Saturday anyway because of Country Fest at Gillette Stadium. So, like, the most beer league block off imaginable. Okay. And I'm actually probably getting this out of order too, because there's also another date that we blocked off in this for Steve Buckley's old time baseball game, which is a great charity fundraiser. So anyways, then fast forward to Sunday, middle afternoon. It's still cloudy, it's still muggy, it's still damp, but it's not raining. And now we resume Game 3. Andre is in the lead. They have 3 outs to get. They bring in their ace pitcher, who was just eating the league alive for the last 3 years on extremely short rest just to prolong their season. Because if Andre wins this game, we play Game 4 immediately afterward. We're not waiting till Monday. We play Game 4 Sunday immediately after this one finishes. And then Mike Hart. He currently plays for the Sioux Fall Canaries.
I know Mike Hart, yes.
Yeah, so he put up, he didn't put up video game numbers as video game numbers are cliched.
Mm-hmm.
He had, I'm just going to bring up the Intercity League website, just bring up his stat line from that season real quick.
It's the that the sprinklers turned on.
Yeah, automatically. Nobody tripped them or anything. It's just okay. This was Mike Hart's slash line in 2015. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And now keep in mind, there's only like a 30 game season or whatever, so there's obviously a smaller sample size. So of course the numbers are going to be bigger, but his slash line was 506, 596, 818 in 77 at bats with 8 doubles, 5 triples, 2 homers, 22 ribbies, 11 walks, just 7 Ks, a 14-14 OPS, 10 out of 12 in stolen base attempts. Needless to say, he was league MVP that year.
Yes.
Now against this pitcher, his name's Jared Frenny. Now, both of them are UMass alums.
Mm-hmm.
Frenny was graduated a few years before Hart did. So Hart's got the tying runs on base, facing Frenny with, I think, 1 out to get at this point to force Game 4. He decides he'll take, one big swing because he knows he's got a dominating fastball and see what happens. And he was on it, but fouled it straight back. That gave him confidence to then rip 1 or 2 pitches later a game-tying home run down to left field that he told me afterward he blacked out while running the bases. And mind you, this was just to tie the game.
Yes. We
go to extras. Andre takes the lead, and then we come back to tie it, and we've got the championship-winning run on third, and in steps veteran outfielder and first baseman Josue Feliciano. He's been in this league forever. This is his first year with the Blue Sox. Had a down year with the bat. He lays down a suicide squeeze that brings home the championship-winning run and causes my voice to raise 10 octaves, if that's even possible. I called it during the course of the game, this 2-parter, the greatest game you will see in the Intercity League or any league. It was the wildest thing I had ever seen. And this was still a year before Game 7 of the 2016 World Series between Cleveland and the Cubs.
Oh, man. Oh, man. Sam Feeley joining us here on this edition of Mike to Mike, sharing wild broadcast stories. If you've done play-by-play or done any kind of announcing and you have a wild story to share, hit me up at mike2mike@snowmanmultimedia.com. Sam, a pleasure, my friend.
Thank you so much, Snowman.
I got to have you back for some more broadcast stories.
I haven't even touched the world's first Homestar Runner reference on a Division I basketball broadcast. That's for part 2. How do you do, fellow millennials?
There will indeed be a part 2 with Sam Feeley. Love you, brother. Thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
He's definitely going to return for a part 2, and we're going to return after this.